Vietnam is one of those countries where the drone decision can feel almost automatic from the outside. Ha Long Bay, the rice terraces of the north, limestone valleys, long stretches of coastline. It is easy to imagine the aerial version of the trip before you have even packed. By the end of this video, you should have the understanding and the resources you need to decide whether the drone actually earns a place in your bag before you carry it across the world. Vietnam's drone question is not mainly about whether the country is worth filming from above. It is about whether the places that look most worth filming are places where a short-term traveler can realistically fly. For most travelers visiting Vietnam for 1 to 3 weeks, the practical answer leans toward leaving the drone at home. And if you are bringing a drone at 250 grams or above, that answer gets even stronger. Because for larger drones, the problem is not just scenery, batteries, or airport customs. The permission and qualification layers can become serious enough that they are usually a poor fit for casual short-term tourism. For most travelers, the only version of this question that is even close to workable is a small, sub-250-gram drone, and even that is not a free pass. Not because Vietnam is not beautiful enough. It absolutely is. And not because every drone will be stopped at the airport or because every flight will lead to trouble. The issue is simpler than that. Unless you are willing to do real pre-trip planning, check your intended flying locations carefully, understand the restrictions, and accept that some of the most obvious places may not be realistic drone locations, the drone may spend most of the trip sitting in your bag. And a drone that stays in the bag is just extra weight. That doesn't mean nobody should bring one. A prepared traveler with a small drone, realistic expectations, and specific flyable locations in mind may still decide it is worth it. But Vietnam is not a destination where I would treat a drone as a casual, maybe I'll use it if the scenery looks good piece of gear. Because in Vietnam, the scenery will look good almost everywhere. The question is whether you can actually fly there. The first thing to separate is simple. Bringing a drone into Vietnam is one question. Flying a drone in Vietnam is another. Those are not the same thing. A lot of travelers focus on the airport. They wonder if customs will seize the drone when they arrive, or if simply having it in their luggage creates a problem. The consistent pattern across traveler reports is that the airport is often not where things go wrong. That does not mean customs will never ask questions. It does not mean every arrival experience is predictable, and it does not mean you should hide what you are carrying. But for most travelers, the larger practical risk is not simply that the drone exists in your bag. The larger risk begins when you try to use it. That distinction matters because it changes the whole decision. If the question were only, can I physically bring a drone to Vietnam? The answer might feel fairly manageable, but the better question is, can I legally and realistically fly this drone in the places I came to Vietnam to see? That is where the math changes. At a practical level, if you do bring a drone, keep your documentation easy to find. Proof of purchase if you have it, the drone model and serial number, battery details, and any registration or permit documents that apply to your situation. I'll point you to a simple checklist and free planner later in the video, so you can organize those details and save them as a travel-ready document before you go. Vietnam's drone system is permission first. It is not built around casual tourist flying in the way many travelers imagine. The current rule structure is shaped by Decree 288, which created Vietnam's updated framework for managing unmanned aircraft and other flying vehicles. The important point for travelers is that drone flying is tied to permission, location, purpose, aircraft type, and in some cases operator qualification, not just whether the drone is small enough to fit in your backpack. For drones at 250 grams and above, the permission burden can become significant. Flight approval is tied to specific coordinates, dates, altitude, purpose, and the aircraft itself. For foreign operators, the process can become expensive very quickly. Vietnam's current framework also includes an operator license requirement for drones 250 grams and above, issued by the Ministry of National Defense. A short-term tourist cannot treat that as something to casually solve after landing. That alone is usually enough to settle the question for larger drones. And here is the practical part that matters. This system is not really designed around foreign tourists applying casually on their own. The online process is built around Vietnamese users. The paperwork is effectively a Vietnamese-language process, and for a foreign operator, the application usually needs a Vietnamese sponsor, guarantor, or local permit agent attached to it. So this is not just a matter of filling out a form after you land. For a solo foreign traveler, Especially with a drone over 250 grams, the realistic options are usually either working through a local agent, coordinating with a Vietnamese contact, or deciding that the drone does not make sense for this trip. This is why I would treat 250 grams as a real dividing line in the packing decision. If you are bringing a larger drone and your plan depends on getting clean aerial footage from specific locations, this is not something to improvise after landing. You would need to treat the drone as part of the trip plan before the trip begins. Then there is the under 250 gram question. This is where many travelers with drones like the DJI Mini series pay close attention. A drone under 250 grams may reduce friction in Vietnam. A smaller drone can be the least complicated version of this decision, but it is not a free pass. Drones under 250 grams change the math in Vietnam a little. They did not change the geography. You still have to think about restricted zones. You still have to think about airports. You still have to think about military areas, government buildings, border regions, urban restrictions, local management rules, and places where flying may be sensitive, even if the drone itself is small. And there is another point creators should be careful with. If you are filming for a monetized channel, client work, paid content, or anything beyond personal recreation, do not assume a recreational sub 250 gram exception covers what you are doing. That distinction may not matter to someone taking a few personal clips for memory, but it can matter a lot to a travel creator. You should also assume visual line of sight and local aviation safety remain part of the responsibility. And even within the under 250 gram exemption, if a flight could affect aviation, military, or public safety activity, including flying near airports or military installations, you may be expected to notify the relevant local military, police, or civil aviation authorities before flying. The small size of the drone does not remove that obligation. This is where travelers get tripped up. They hear under 250 grams and mentally translate it into safe to fly. That is not the right interpretation. A better way to think about it is this. A small drone may reduce one layer of friction, but it does not erase the map. And in Vietnam, the map is the whole problem. Vietnam's most tempting drone locations often overlap with the places where restrictions, local rules, or practical obstacles matter most. Take Ha Long Bay. For a drone pilot, Ha Long Bay is almost impossible not to imagine from above. Limestone karsts rising from the water, boats moving through narrow channels, morning light over the bay. It is one of the most obvious aerial scenes in Southeast Asia. But obvious does not mean easy. Even when something may be technically possible with the right permission, many tour operators do not want guest drones launched from boats or cruises. Liability, coordination, local authority issues, and the complexity of permission all matter. So for a normal traveler, Ha Long Bay may look like the main reason to bring a drone, while also being one of the places where using it can be hardest to execute properly. The exact places you most want to film may be the places where you have the least freedom to improvise. That is the Vietnam problem in miniature. Sapa creates a different version of the same issue. The northern landscapes are spectacular, and drone footage of terraced hillsides can be incredible. But the complications there are not just about whether the view is rural or open. National park areas, local site rules, nearby sensitive zones, and map-specific restrictions can all matter. So again, the question is not, would this look amazing from the air? Of course it would. The question is, have I checked the specific place I plan to fly from? Ninh Binh may feel more open because the landscape is rural and scenic, and for some travelers, rural areas may be where drone use feels more realistic. But even there, national park boundaries, protected areas, local rules, and nearby restricted sites can matter. Hoi An brings another kind of friction. It is a heritage area, crowded, culturally sensitive, and frequently mentioned by travelers as a place where drone use is complicated in practice. It may look perfect for cinematic shots, but it is not a place I would casually treat as open airspace. Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City add urban density, government and security concerns, and airport proximity issues. For most visitors, these are not places where casual drone flying makes sense. Da Nang and some coastal areas may be closer to the workable end of the spectrum, especially for a careful traveler using a small drone away from airports and sensitive areas. But even there, coastal does not automatically mean clear. You still need to check the location. That is why Vietnam feels different from Thailand when you are planning travel with a drone. Thailand is largely a paperwork and process problem. There are forms, registration issues, insurance questions, and bureaucratic steps that can discourage casual travelers. Vietnam has bureaucracy too, But the deeper problem is practical usability. It is permission uncertainty layered on top of the exact places many travelers flew to Vietnam to film. And there is one more modern complication. The drone may not stop you from making a bad decision. For DJI users, geofencing used to feel like a kind of safety net. If the drone would not take off, or if the app strongly blocked a flight, that gave pilots a very clear signal that something was restricted. But DJI's geofencing approach changed on January 13, 2025. In many places, the system moved away from hard blocks and toward warning zones. That does not make restricted flying legal. It just means the drone may be more willing to fly, even when you should not. That is important because a lot of travelers use the drone app as if it were the rule book. It is not. The app may warn you, the drone may still take off. But if you are in the wrong area, the responsibility is still yours. In Vietnam, that matters because the biggest risk may not feel obvious in the moment. You may be standing on a quiet beach. You may be outside a crowded city. You may see other people flying. The drone may connect normally. The app may not physically stop you. None of that proves you are clear. It only proves the drone can fly. And the drone can fly is not the same as you are allowed to fly. Now, there is a reality we should talk about honestly. There appears to be a gap between written rules and what some travelers actually do on the ground. If you read traveler forums, Reddit threads, Facebook groups, or creator discussions, you will find people saying they flew small drones in rural or coastal areas without incident. You will also find people saying Vietnam is not worth the hassle. Both can be true. Some travelers do fly. Some do not get stopped. Some locations may feel relaxed in practice. Enforcement may be more concentrated around airports, military areas, major cities, and sensitive sites than in quiet rural landscapes. But that gap is not permission. It is risk. And risk is personal, uneven, and changeable. If you are caught flying without authorization in Vietnam, the most likely outcomes are a fine, confiscation of the drone, and being told to leave. And in sensitive areas, it can escalate further than that. This is where I would be very careful about taking advice from someone whose entire argument is, I did it and nothing happened. That may be true. It is also not a system you can rely on. The fact that one traveler flew without trouble does not tell you what will happen at your location, on your day, with your drone, near your airport, near your border area, near your hotel, or near the local authority who happens to see it. And Vietnam does not appear to be getting more relaxed about drone use. The rule system has been tightening. Airport-related enforcement is a particular concern. Incidents near sensitive infrastructure can escalate quickly. An unauthorized drone near an airport is not treated like a harmless travel mistake. And the more drones become visible in crowded or restricted places, the more likely enforcement becomes. So the honest framing is this: Vietnam has an enforcement gap. Some travelers use that gap. But if you build your plan around that gap, you are not really planning. You are gambling that nothing changes in the exact place where you decide to fly. That may be acceptable to some people, but it is not what I would recommend as a travel system. So who should actually bring a drone to Vietnam? I would consider bringing one if the drone is central to the trip, not an afterthought. That means you already know the areas where you want to fly. You have checked official restriction maps and local guidance before travel. You are using a sub-250-gram drone if possible. You understand that some famous places may be off the table. And you are comfortable with the idea that even after carrying the drone across the world, you may still choose not to fly it on certain days. That last point matters. A responsible drone traveler needs to be willing to say no at the location, not because the shot would not look good, but because the location does not work. Vietnam may be workable for someone staying longer, moving more slowly, targeting specific rural or coastal areas, and treating drone planning as part of the itinerary. It may also be workable for a creator coordinating with local partners or production support. But that is very different from tossing a drone into your backpack because Vietnam looks beautiful from the air. On the other side, I would lean toward leaving it home if you are on a classic 1 or 2 week Vietnam itinerary. If your trip is Hanoi, Ha Long Bay, Ninh Binh, Hoi An, Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City, the drone may sound useful in theory, but several of those stops come with real complications. You may spend more time thinking about where not to fly than actually flying. I would also leave it home if the drone is just a maybe, something you might use if you have time, or might figure out after you arrive. Vietnam is not a great place for that kind of drone use, because the drone will compete with the trip itself. Every battery, every charger, every controller, every extra case, every airport security moment, every map check, every "can I fly here" question, all of that has to be justified by actual use. If you're not going to use it enough, leave the weight behind. There is no shame in that. Sometimes the best travel tech decision is not bringing the tool. That is especially true when the tool creates more decisions than it solves. The cleanest way to make this decision is to do one thing before you pack. Map your intended flying locations. Not the country generally, not Vietnam, not somewhere near Sapa, the actual places, the beach, the viewpoint, the rice terrace, the cruise area, the hotel roof, the valley overlook, the coastline outside the city. Check those locations against the official no-fly and restricted zone information before the trip. Then ask a very simple question. If I cannot fly in my top 3 dream locations, do I still want to bring the drone? That question cuts through most of the noise. Because if your whole reason for bringing the drone is Ha Long Bay, and Ha Long Bay becomes complicated, then the drone may not earn its place. If your plan depends on Hoi An from above, and that turns out to be unrealistic, the drone may not earn its place. If you are imagining casual flights in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, the drone probably does not earn its place. But if you check the map, find specific locations that are clear, keep the drone small, respect the restrictions, and build the itinerary around realistic flying windows, then the answer may change. Vietnam rewards preparation. It just does not reward guessing. Before you pack a drone for Vietnam, run the decision through a simple checklist. Start with the drone itself. Confirm the model, weight, batteries, and whether it falls under or above the 250-gram line. Then define the purpose. Personal memories, monetized content, client work, or something else. Next, map the places you actually want to fly, not just Vietnam, but the specific locations, such as beaches or viewpoints, cruise areas, or city locations you are imagining. If the area is near an airport, a military site, a government building, a national park, a heritage zone, or a crowded city area, treat it as a place that needs extra caution. And finally, ask the practical question. After all of that, does the drone still earn its place in your bag? If the answer is no, that is not a failure. That is the planning process doing its job. I've also created a free Vietnam drone travel planner that walks through those checks in one place. It does not replace official rules or legal guidance, but it can help you organize your notes, compare your planned flying locations, and decide whether bringing a drone actually makes sense for your trip. I'll link it along with the official Vietnam planning resources and a few practical reference links in the description below. So my final answer is this. Vietnam may be one of the most tempting drone destinations in Southeast Asia, but for most short-term travelers, it is not one of the easiest. The scenery says bring the drone. The permission system says, did you plan this before you packed? If the answer is no, leave it home and enjoy the trip. If the answer is yes, if you have checked your locations, understand the restrictions, and are comfortable not flying when the situation is unclear, then a small drone may still be worth bringing. But let the planning make the decision, not the scenery. And do not confuse a drone that can take off with a flight that makes sense. One quick note before you go. People looking for advice often end up finding explanations wrapped in more hype than clarity. If my calmer breakdowns feel useful, subscribe. It tells YouTube this kind of explanation is worth showing to other travelers. And of course, likes are always appreciated. They really do help the channel. Leave a comment if you've ever brought a drone abroad or decided not to, and what made that call easier or harder than you expected. I am interested in hearing your experience. Thanks for joining me, and safe travels, wherever you're headed.